Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Matthew, Watty's channel. Today's episode, we are once again continuing on with the review videos of the Mattel Retros. So, in 2022, Mattel did bring back the Retros after about a 3-year layoff. Ended with 3 final series in 2019. And then in 2022, Mattel Creations came out with 2 more series. We just looked at Series 11, aka Wave 1 of the Mattel Creations in the last video. One thing I didn't show in that video was the new packaging. Now, as I've said before, I haven't collected these since they first started coming out back in 2016. So I don't know if all of the packages came in these particular boxes or not. With the first couple of series holding 6 figures, I doubt you could fit 6 in something like this, but that was, at least during my collecting of the Mattel Retros, a unique feature, and it was pretty incredible. So, in the second release with Wave 2, aka Series 12, they continue that trend, adding 4 new figures in package, awesome artwork. What they did in this series was very similar to what you saw in Series 5. You had 3 members of a tag team. For example, you had New Day in Series 5, and then you had the WCW NWO version of Macho Man. So you had to throw that random extra 4th character out there. In this series, you had the Hart Foundation with manager Jimmy Hart, and then you also include a random selection. I thought Nikolai Volkov was a good choice, only because you already have an Iron Sheik in this series, or in this line, so it's nice to be able to include that respective character. Could they have potentially put the 2 characters in the same series? That would have meshed up so much better, but we didn't get that, but at least you're able to complete, that tag team, so that's pretty impressive. The first figure I want to look at, again, we always go off of how they're displayed on the back of the card. It's Bret Hart. So, I have to admit, when I got these figures in, I was not impressed with the Hart Foundation at all. And you would think with this particular color scheme that this figure would be so fantastic in my eyes. Why? Because back in 1992, when Hasbro released Series 4 of their action figures, they came out with the original Bret Hart figure. This was a figure I had as a kid because it was a later on life figure for me. Again, I remember the Bulldog, Undertaker, Bret Hart figures better than any other action figure, even though I, had figures like, Jake Roberts and Jake Roberts, Honky Tonk Man, Hulk Hogan, etc. You're a lot of your Series 1 and 2 figures, but the most play came from the Series 4 figures. And it's very reminiscent, same overall paint scheme and even the body type to an extent. I mean, I like the fact that these figures that have your up and down slamming motion, to me that is some of the better looking figures. When they kind of came out with the new release of Bret Hart, they kind of did away with the up and down slamming motion, and they gave you another one of those extended arms. I don't mind this pose. It's a great quality overall pose, great playability to it and everything. For whatever reason, just the shape of the body, it just feels odd. Even the head sculpt, you might argue that this is a better head sculpt than what you got from Hasbro. I would disagree. I think overall quality, everything from pose to the head sculpt, even though the whole him kind of looking up in the air type of deal with the Hasbro, that could have done a little bit better. But I love the Hasbro Series 4 Bret Hart. Again, it's the Bret Hart for me for childhood. Yeah, I'll covet the Series 8 Bret Hart because it's got more intricate details to the paint scheme. But I'm just not a fan of this. It's nice that they created a whole different body type compared to what you had before. That's awesome. I would have preferred probably a different paint scheme, only because, again, I look at this and I look at that figure and I'm like, no, you're basically recreating the exact same figure. You know, it's an expensive figure too. Even if you buy these figures on eBay loose nowadays, even though they're so common and so many collectors have them, you put them on auction, you're probably still going to get around $20-$25 for them, depending on who you buy from, of course. If you go to someone like Andrew Todd Martin, Mabel Toys on eBay, yeah, his figures are always going to sell for like a ridiculous amount of money. Why? Because he probably has a couple thousand followers on his channel or on his YouTube account. So now for me, I probably have about 50 followers or so, etc. So that means that if I list this figure, I might get about $10 for it. Not a lot, but the value is definitely there in loose figures or carded. Carded, you're still looking at about $40. So, and considering that $40 is almost the price you would pay for the entire lot, I couldn't imagine going back and wanting to buy extras of these guys. But I did that. I did have extras, so I decided to pop up in a few. Bret Hart, overall, good figure. Just not the quality of a Hasbro. And I wouldn't say that this is the worst of Series 12, Wave 2. But it's not a great figure overall when I make that comparison. Is it a decent figure for the retro line? Of course. We're not comparing retros to Hasbro's. Not really. We're comparing retros to retros. So that is Bret Hart. And, you know, it's a shame, again, that I don't feel a little bit more love for this particular figure, because Bret Hart, he's like right on my top 5 list of all-time favorite wrestlers. And I can't believe the stories I'm hearing nowadays talk about how he wasn't, you know, your top of the line heavyweight champion, that he couldn't bring in a crowd the way Hulk Hogan did and things like that. I mean, to me, I thought Bret Hart was always a mega superstar. I mean, I thought he was an absolute perfect Intercontinental champion, multiple time heavyweight champion, tag team. I mean, man did everything. I thought he was one of the biggest talents that you would find, and one of the reasons why WCW was willing to pay up a fortune to acquire his skill set. But and he went to WCW and didn't have the same run. And I think a lot of the people that watch WCW, it's kind of like WWE. You're either a WWF or you're a WCW fan. Very few people kind of cross that threshold of following both programs on a regular basis. But that is Bret Hart. Now, the one figure that I do absolutely love from this line, and I think that this is not only the best figure of this particular wave, I think it's one of the best figures in the entire line, period. Who are we talking about? Well, manager Jimmy Hart. And I've said it before, you take your managers or / interviewers, guys like Mean Gene Okerlund, you know, your Paul Bearer, Jimmy Hart figures, they all pretty much have the exact same body type, exact same pose and everything, and that's perfectly fine. It is a absolute quality figure all around. And again, all you just see, just one of those little slapping motions that you get from the figure, from a lot of these manager type figures. The one thing, again, I've always talked about, I really love that figures that have non-removable accessories. Because what happens if you're a kid and you're playing with these guys? And while I'm talking, I'm actually going to go over here and I am going to exit out of my AOL because I am constantly getting messages and that keeps popping up and it's bothering me. Alright, hopefully I didn't lose any time. Looks like it's still counting down, so that's good. Alright, so with Mean Gene Okerlund, you know, his microphone fits solidly into his hand. Same thing with the, I mean, I can't even move it. Oh, you know what? I'm just looking at his hand. It still has a little plastic holding the megaphone into his hand, so that's pretty solid. I'm not gonna break that off because I don't want this to come out. But either way, this is one of those things that slide in the hand nice and tight, so you can sit there and kind of like, you know, thrush it all over the place. It's not necessarily gonna fall out every time. And what I talked about before, just a very simple working action feature. The details that you'd find throughout his jacket is incredible. Again, the accessory is immaculate. Absolutely amazing piece. Jimmy Hart, he would sometimes throw his megaphone into the ring. Whoever it was that he was managing, they sometimes use it as a weapon. And, man, gosh, I just kind of holding a lot of these figures and just kind of like looking at them and talking about them a little bit. I might have to kind of goof off some more and play these guys because, again, I don't get the type of satisfaction that I would as a kid. But man, just sometimes you just gotta do things outside of the realm of normalcy. It's not normal for me to wrestle these guys, but you know what? What do I always say? Play is play, fun is fun. I always feel like I have like several different sayings that come out, but that's one of those things. Next one on the list is Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Do you like this one better, or do you like the Series 5 Rocket version? Where he's kind of like tagging with Owen Hart at that time for the new Foundation. I don't know. This one, the body type is overall the same thing that you find with so many other characters like Lex Luger. I keep talking about Ultimate Warrior and John Cena because they were the first two figures in Series 1 that had this type of body type. And it's just another one of those slam in motion features, power slam types. Arms do what they're supposed to. They come up and down, which is perfect. Can you live with the open hands? Yes. Is it preferable? Any guy that's collecting figures, or that any guy that wants to wrestle his toys or whatnot, any child, what have you, yeah, they're always gonna say they want a closed fist. Something like Undertaker from Hasbro Series 4 was pretty solid. Yeah, you had that open arm for a perfect clothesline, but when it closed, you had that punching thing, that punching grip, but you also had an open hand, so you could do like choke slams and stuff. So, depending on the figure, you don't always have to have closed fist. This is a pretty decent looking figure overall. The Hart Foundation, I would have kind of liked maybe if they had done like a straight pink type of variant, or even if they had like black and blue on here with like little blue black stripes coming down the blue pant leg. Something different than what we've already seen. But yeah, these are more appropriate, more common colors. If they had gone with the older mid-'80s Hart Foundation, that would have been something special. And that's why I kind of got that Hart Foundation color scheme from the mid-'80s with the black tops and the blue pants with the... I got a couple of them. One of them actually does have the stripe down the middle. That's one that I commissioned, and the others were just regular ones, figures I found online that I bid on and won. But Hart Foundation. Last figure, and it's another one of those issues I've talked about where on card, perfectly fine figure. For whatever reason, I cannot sell this guy to save my life. I actually did recently get an offer for this guy on one of my eBay accounts, and I had to accept the offer. I sold it for like $7, and it wasn't like I was overpricing it. I had it listed at like $10. I don't think any of these figures anymore, even loose, are less than $10 in value. So to get a carded figure for less than $10 kind of really sucks. But a lot of times when I have duplicates, I'll take pictures, I'll put them in boxes, wrap them up, put them in boxes. That way I have the weight and dimensions put aside, and put like a little label on the box so I know what's inside. And a lot of time when I sell something on eBay, especially if it's for like a super low price, it's generally because I'm just trying to get rid of that box, clear that stuff out of the area. So as much as making a profit, obviously, or earning some money. Nikolai Volkov. I mean, you have, like I said, you had your Iron Sheik character or action figure already created. Why not complete that tandem and include Nikolai Volkov? I'm one of those guys who absolutely love figures when they're clothed. It gives you that extra bonus of a display, extra color scheme. You look at someone like a Harley Race from LJN with that terrible that pose inward with the hands. If he wasn't wearing that jacket accessory, that would be probably a top 3, top 4 worst figure. But the fact that he has that jacket, built on, he has the helm, the crown accessory. It went from like a worst 3 or 4 figure to probably somewhere in the top 40 or 50 of the best figures. Now, that's not like a huge upgrade, but you're probably jumping 20, 30 spots. So, yeah, that is actually a pretty big increase. Nikolai Volkov, I love his LJN. I love the fact that it's just a red shirt, simple USSR writing on it. It would have been nice if he had that same thing on here. Or if there's one I actually saw with but he had like a red jacket type, and it was a LJN custom, which I really wanted, but I was kind of holding off for it for a long time. If he had come in that outfit, incredible piece. What do I talk about this particular figure? It's the leg. I mean, you can't really do anything with the leg feature. I mean, even when I'm trying to like keep it inward, I'm not even touching it, and it keeps kicking out. The trunks with that dual color, enough of an upgrade. I like the offset purple/red that you get in the boots compared to the knee pads and trunks. And of course, with the built-on hat accessory. Okay, the figure has its features. Good overall fighting pose, but with this, it's unplayable. And with it continuously kicking out like that, I'm starting to believe that these figures with this particular body type is actually a worse figure than the figures I've talked about or I've been hating on. The fused legs with the hands inward. And I still got that AOL message, and I could have sworn I just closed out of that one. So, must have closed out the wrong item. Alright. Sorry guys, but this is kind of wasting my video to keep hearing that sound pop up every now and then. Make sure I'm still recording. Yep. Okay. But this is the last figure of this series. Is it a must-have series? If I were to make a recommendation to you, what I would argue is go for Jimmy Hart. To me, I think Jimmy Hart is a must-have. You can make your own determination as far as the Hart Foundation. Jim Hart might be a little bit better than his Hasbro counterpart. I think the Bret Hart is much worse than either of the original two or the mail-away Hasbro figures. So if you want a Bret Hart, I would always go that route. Because I'm sure a lot of people that are collecting these are probably putting them in a ring together with their Hasbros as well. So, Nikolai Volkov. This is only for guys like me who are like avid collectors that have OCD and want the whole collection, because this is possibly the worst figure. And I think this one's even worse than my Jeff Hardy because the leg does not stay in. I finally got it. But look how far you got to kick those legs back to keep them. Yeah, you can't even line up the legs without it jumping forward. Not a good figure. Mattel Retros, Mattel Creations, they really did a disservice on this one. And I think it's something where they were just trying to rush and get some figures put out. Because you have to do a better design than this. This is a new figure. Yeah, it's not like it's someone that's 10 years old and pre-owned and someone's kid's been playing with it or whatnot. No, that one was directly out of the package. So. Alright guys, I am going to close the video here for now. Per the last several days, I'm going to make 3 videos in one day. So I'm going to knock out waves 2, 3, and 4. And you know what? I still got to do the Ringside Collectibles video. So I won't finish today with that final video. I'll do Ringside Collectibles after I do Series 14. And that will be the last video posted. So all in all, we're looking at 15 total videos. With all the Mattel Retros, and they'll be in the playlist, of course, so you can always go back and see other series if you by chance missed any. You guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.